I want to ask you this question purely for my own interest. You worked with both these guys in TNA and they hate each other. So I'm just curious if you ever saw anything and who is the stranger personality? Vince Russo and Jim Cornette.
Well, first of all, their personalities are the complete opposite. You have Vince, bro, and this and that, bro, and this bro, and that, bro, and Cornette's always just talking about the business. It's just, back in 1972, this happened and that happened, and, we should still do that today. And, but they did not get along. They hate each other. And it was a headache in TNA. When those two were in the same room, they were fighting all the time. They wanted to go at each other. I mean, if it was legal to fight, they would have fought, and they would have beat the out of each other. And I would have loved to have seen it. But yeah, no, they did not get along, and it was a very it was a poison situation in the company to have them both there at the same time.
I mean, Cornette's always been very complimentary of you. What was it like working with him? I can only imagine he was quite intense.
You know what? Cornette was great. He's a little old school. He likes what was going on in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And he feels that what was old is now new again, and you could do it over and over again. And I believe that. I think Jim Cornette was onto something with that. But he had a great knack for the business. Vince Russo was more storyline driven, didn't really know wrestling as much as he should have. He was more of a character development kind of person. Cornette was more of a wrestling development person. So that's probably why they clashed.
And then you come back to WWE in 2017, you get put in the Hall of Fame, and then I'm sure everyone remembers when you, for one night, became the dad of the Shield.
That was a cool night. Being a part of one of the coolest factions ever, that's a huge deal. I really enjoyed that. The Shield, that's right. Because I had to do this like 10 times. 3 fists, I guess.
But that was your first match back with WWE in 11 years or whatever it was on TLC. How much notice did you have that was going to be the match you were going to do, and how happy? I mean, you could see how happy you were when you popped up on the screen and the Shield.
I look
gear.
like a little fanboy. I know. I was having a blast. The problem though, when I came back to WWE, I took a year off and I did some indie shows. Came over here a few times to the UK. I wrestled Zack Sabre Jr., Cody Rhodes, Del Rio. Was having a really good time, keeping myself in really good shape. And then the WWE called me, and that's when, what the hell. Vince McMahon calls me and says, we want you to come back. We want to induct you in the Hall of Fame. I said, okay, but I'm still wrestling. He said, I know that, but we're going to induct you in the Hall of Fame first. I said, Vince, don't you wrestle first and then get inducted in the Hall of Fame? He said, yeah, but we're going to do the opposite with you. So not only that, but, the night of the Hall of Fame, he came to me right after I did my speech, and he said, tomorrow I want you to be the GM of Raw. I said, what happened to the wrestling? He said, it'll come. Don't worry about that. Wrestling right now. You're going to Raw. You're going to be the GM of Raw. So I stopped training, and I wasn't in the ring anymore because I couldn't do any in-ring training. The GM role took up a lot of time of the day. It was a really busy because you're involved in every storyline. So the training goes out the window. And I was probably the GM for a good, 7 or 8 months. And I started wrestling again, but unfortunately, my body didn't really enjoy it. I gained 25 pounds. I got real heavy, and my knees started to bother me. I started having injuries in my quad muscles, and I just couldn't keep it together. And unfortunately, I did not have the matches I wanted to have to retire from WWE. And that's the only thing that I do regret. I just wish the WWE would have did it the opposite way. They would have me wrestle and then make me GM and then induct me in the Hall of Fame. If they would have done that, I think I would have been sent off a little bit in a better way.
So we have so many of your questions, and I'm only starting with this one because I want Kurt to, really understand what Belfast is all about. First question, how big is Batista's dick?
Okay. I didn't even hear that.
How big is Batista's dick?
It's pretty damn big. Is that a real fan question? Holy shit, it is. And I have it to prove it.
Okay, Kevin's question. One of his dream matches would be you and Bret Hart. You as the wrestling machine and Bret from '97. What do you think about that as a match? Because you've said before you wanted that match.
Yeah, that's the one match that I always wanted to have. I always dreamed about it. I actually called Bret Hart in 2002. This was after he had the stroke. Unfortunately, it's not funny, but I'm like, hey, Bret, you want to wrestle WrestleMania? Come on, let's go. He's like, Kurt, in case you didn't know, I just had a stroke. But, no, seriously, this is probably a year after. And I called Bret and I said, I would love to wrestle you at WrestleMania. And he said, Kurt, go yourself. No. He said, listen, I can't do it. And I said, why not? He said, I can't explain to you, but I can't do it. I wish I could, Kurt, but it's not possible. And I understand now because I'm in a position now where I'm actually too old to wrestle and too banged up to wrestle. And if someone asked me to come back at WrestleMania, of course I'd do it. No. No. I was kidding. Please. I got a boo for the first time. All right, for you maybe. But what the was I talking about?
Calling Bret Hart after a stroke to ask him if he would wrestle you.
So I called Bret and I asked him if he would wrestle, and he said no. And I understand why. He knows he can't have the Bret Hart match that he dreamed about. He knows that he can't be the Bret Hart that he expects to be in that ring because he did get a concussion from Goldberg, and then he had the stroke. Yeah, boo. Goldberg. That's right. Yeah. Bret Hart, man, the best wrestler in the world, best wrestler ever, best in-ring performer I've ever seen. There's only one other person I put up there with him, and that's Chris Benoit. And but Bret was the man. I mean, I watched tapes and film of him over and over again, and I was absolutely in love with the guy. Not in a gay way, but I was in love with him. I really was. I thought he was the best wrestler I've ever saw.
The next question is from Chris. It's a two-way question. Who is the nicest guy in wrestling, and who is the biggest dickhead?
You know what? I can't tell you who the biggest dickhead is. That's pretty cruel. Now listen. If I say who the biggest dickhead in wrestling is, it's going to be all over the f***ing dirt sheets. Kurt Angle said this guy's an asshole. I will say the nicest guy in wrestling, and I didn't treat him really well, is John Cena. You know what? When I first started, I started his career. I was his first match. And, ruthless aggression. He slapped me. Well, don't worry. I got him back a lot of times. I stiffed that son of a bitch so many times, you wouldn't believe it. Now, Did I do it on purpose? Yes, a little bit. I knew this kid was going to be something special. You could tell in his promos and his wrestling, the way he looked, his build, his persona. You knew he was going to be something special. And I wanted him to stay humble because he was a humble kid. So I beat the shit out of him a lot in the matches. But you know what? The crazy thing is, when he inducted me in the Hall of Fame, he thanked me for it. I was like, great, I'll beat the out of you again if you want. I wanted to have John Cena in the match, and John would have probably said yes, but Vince McMahon never asked him. And the crazy thing is, I'm at WrestleMania, getting ready to wrestle Baron, and who walks up in front of me with the thugonomics shirt and the chain and the hat? I'm going, what the He's here. He's not even supposed to be here. Why the am I not wrestling him? Like, he's already in character from back in 2003 when he started. And it was like, man, why am I still wrestling Baron Corbin when John Cena's here, you know, sporting his thugonomics outfit? I was like, man, this sucks. So I ended up wrestling Baron Corbin. And the crazy thing is, Vince McMahon said, you don't have to retire right now. You can go another year, and I'll give you Cena next year. But you know what? I didn't want to do it because when I came back to WWE, like I told you before, Vince forgives, but he never forgets. And when I came back, every match I had, just about, I lost. I was doing jobs left and right, and it was very humbling. And I knew if I went another year, Vince would probably just do it over and over again just to make me remember that I left him in 2006. And I didn't want to experience that again.
So the next question we've got is, what did you think of the Steve Austin-Kevin Owens match at WrestleMania?
Hey, anytime you have Austin back, it's a banger. I mean, you anytime you can have Austin come back and contribute in any way possible. Listen, my wife was out in the arena that night, the stadium. She said she never heard a cheer louder than that. It was the loudest thing she ever heard in her life, and it's because it was Stone Cold Steve Austin coming back to WrestleMania. It didn't matter what he did. Everybody knew that he was just going to do a stunner. Didn't matter. But you know what? How about that stunner to Vince McMahon, huh? Holy shit. He might be the worst athlete in the history of pro wrestling. And you know what? Austin's face was priceless after. You knew he was pissed, but he had to smile on his face and he kept saying, mother. You knew he was mad. I mean, Vince, he booted him in the gut, and Vince dropped to his knees right away. Didn't even take the stunner. And then Vince gets back up, and Steve tries to do it again. It just all got f***ed up, and then Vince backed up into the ropes, and he comes forward again, backs up in the ropes again, comes forward. It was like, holy shit, it's the stunner that would never end. Wow. Listen, if I come back and I have Vince McMahon in the ring with me, I'm going to kill myself.
It's the tale of two questions tonight. The first question from this person is, who is your best friend in wrestling?
My best friend in wrestling? He's up there. You're right, Brock. You know what? My two best friends were Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin. Yeah, I created a really good bond with those guys. And they're the only ones I keep in touch with from here on in. Every once in a while, I talk to Brock. I talk to some guys. Undertaker here and there. Austin here and there. Never talked to Dwayne Johnson. The is like Hollywood driven. I mean, no way to get the hold of him. You have to go through like 10 presidents to get a hold of Rock.
The second part of this, I'm not you, and the person began to write their name and scribbled it out of the first letter. Their other question was, did you ever get penis envy in the locker room?
Only when I saw Batista.